and the patriots at the Pentagon and the State Department, you have my unwavering support, says Trump. Now go, get the job done, DJT. Talk about reclaiming and reconquering in the Reconquista huge portions of the southern part of our country. That's a problem.
People from gangs, people from jails, they emptied their jails out into the U.S. Most of those people are in the cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. Not going to happen.
Trump declares war on the sanctuary cities, saying we're going to prioritize you people. If you want to obstruct federal enforcement, we'll just double down and we'll come in and clean it up and solve this problem once and for all. Now, he posted this, and it's been followed up by Gavin Newsom and many people screeching from the rooftops, "This is a dictatorship," saying, how dare you prioritize one thing above another. But we'll come back on that, and we'll get reaction from Tom Cotton and more. But Trump dropped this, and we couldn't appreciate it more because this sets the tone. This reminds the illegals who are here that there will not be a let up on any of this. So you can self-deport, spare everybody a lot of trouble, and leave. Here's what Trump said. Our nation's ICE officers have shown incredible strength, determination, and courage as they facilitate a very important mission. The largest mass deportation operation of illegal aliens in history. Every day, the brave men and women of ICE are subjected to violence, harassment, and even threats from radical Democrat politicians. But nothing will stop us from executing our mission and fulfilling our mandate to the American people. ICE officers, says the president, are herewith ordered by notice of this truth to do all in their power to achieve the very important goal of delivering the single largest mass deportation program in history. It has been declared. In order to achieve this, the president says, we must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. These and other such cities are the core of the Democrat power center, where they use illegal aliens to expand their voter base, cheat in elections, and grow the welfare state, robbing good-paying jobs and benefits from hardworking American citizens. These radical left Democrats are sick of mind, hate our country, and actually want to destroy our inner cities. And they are doing a good job of it. There is something wrong with them. That is why they believe in open borders, transgender for everybody, and men playing in women's sports. And that is why I want ICE, Border Patrol, and our great and patriotic law enforcement officers to focus on our crime-ridden and deadly inner cities and those places where sanctuary cities play such a big role. You don't hear about sanctuary cities in our heartland. I want our brave ICE officers to know that real Americans are cheering you on every day. That's right. The American people want our cities, schools, and communities to be safe and free of illegal alien crime, conflict, and chaos. Man, those 3 C's. Nailed it. That's why I have directed my entire administration to put every resource possible behind this effort and reverse the tide of mass destruction migration that has turned once idyllic towns into scenes of third world dystopia. Our federal government will continue to be focused on the re-migration of aliens to the places from where they came and preventing the admission of anyone who undermines the domestic tranquility of the United States. To ICE, FBI, DEA, ATF, and the patriots at the Pentagon and the State Department, you have my unwavering support, says Trump. Now go, get the job done, DJT. We enjoyed that one. Thank you, Mr. President, for saying that, because it is all absolutely true. And I think really this is an existential crisis for the future of the country. As we've talked about, demographics in many ways are destiny. And if you have 20 to 30 million illegals in the country and they have kids, then you have representation for illegal aliens for the rest of the lifetime of the country, essentially, via their kids by proxy. So that's a concern. And we've seen this happen where illegals now become police officers and now run for state representation, and they get elected to judicial administrative positions in various locations around the country. And in California, they are welcoming them into the fold. And the next step will be to get them the vote. In fact, they're trying that already, to get them to vote in local elections because they're there. They get counted in the census. They get representation in our Congress. So we want our country to be our country, not a country for foreigners. It's our Constitution. It's meant for us, not for the rest of the world. And so the president is explaining that clearly, and we appreciate it. And these sanctuary cities will not find find favor in the federal government, nor should they. Secretary Sean Duffy also posted this in response to Trump's truth, said, the U.S. Department of Transportation, we're not going to fund rogue state actors who refuse to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. Why would we? And to cities that stand by while rioters destroy transportation infrastructure, torch freeways. Don't expect a red cent from the Department of Transportation either. Follow the law or forfeit the funding. Man, we got some good alliteration today. Forfeit the funding or follow the law. Amazing. Plus Trump's 3 C's down there. Crime, conflict, and chaos of illegals. It's too much. The winning. We see that there are other updates. So a quick summation on what else is happening out there. This is a quick backdoor Dugan update. The judge who tried to have that illegal alien use of the back door of her courtroom saying, we have another hearing coming up this week. Wednesday, June 18th, this week, we're going to have another hearing with backdoor Dugan. The court is going to address trial scheduling issues, and they're not going to address the motions to dismiss, which we have read here. So that's going to remain referred to the magistrate judge, and backdoor Dugan is not going to be required this week. We also have a Khalil Mahmoud update. Speaking of people who should be deported, we got this one saying the judge is saying, we're going to keep this dude in custody. Remember, Mahmoud Khalil is the guy who was apparently here on a green card, lied on his green card application, started going to the universities, causing a ruckus. I don't even care what the issue is. If you're here and you're not a citizen and you bring your problems with you here, I don't care if you jaywalk and you're here on a visa. Oh, you're out. Deport him. Why? You just walk. I don't care. Get out. Because we don't want foreign problems coming in here. And if you can't follow traffic laws, then get out of the country. It's that simple. You got to be on your best behavior if you're here because we're overflowing. We don't need all these people coming in here causing additional problems and burdens on our system. Come in here and be a polite guest or get out. Now, the judge has said that Trump can't deport this dude immediately, but the Khalil people are saying that you have to release him if you're not going to deport him. So the judge came back down and said, actually, no, we're not going to let him go. Trump and the administration can keep him in custody pending these proceedings. So here's what this judge said. The court preliminarily enjoined the respondents from detaining Mahmoud on a particular charge, right? So the judge said, I stopped you from detaining him for one charge. And that injunction is in effect, remember. But then Khalil filed a letter this morning saying, well, the government has not represented that he's being detained on anything other than that. Like, judge, you said they can't use that as a basis. They say that is their only basis. So if that's the case, it would be plainly unlawful to detain Khalil on the charge if the court enjoined Trump from using that charge. But by their letter of this afternoon, says the judge, the Trump administration have now represented that Khalil is being detained on another second charge. And that second charge has not been enjoined. So they can still use that in their detention arguments. Now, as the court noted at some length on May 28th, the petitioner did not put forward factual evidence as to why it might be unlawfully to detain him on the second charge. And Khalil also failed to make meaningful legal arguments as to that second charge. So I was like, oh man. Now, they also say he's not sought appellate review of my prior holdings. And as Trump notes in their letter today, a number of avenues are now available to Khalil, including a bail application to the immigration judge presiding over the immigration case. Now, to the extent that he requests relief from this court, he wants to get out of custody, that request is denied. And so Khalil is going to stay in custody and have to deal with immigration up when it is appropriate. Now, Tom Cotton was out and was getting into it with, I don't really care, Margaret, from Face the Nation. So we'll come back to Tom Cotton, but he dropped this. She asks him a question about this op-ed over in the Wall Street Journal. Tom Cotton said, you know what? Send in the troops. California. For real, though, this time. And I searched for this article and I found Tom Cotton sent almost an identical article back in 2020 where he said, send in the troops, like 5 years ago. So it's kind of like a copy paste, but we'll see what he says. When local police can't restore order, because it was 2020, it's like the same thing. Remember that? Like, we have hindsight. So 2020 is also maybe appropriate back then. Trump didn't do that back during the summer of love. So kind of like like history repeats itself. Tom Cotton's like, I already wrote this article. We just redo it. He says, for real this time. When local police can't restore order, we got to get in there and do it. Tom Cotton says, violent insurrectionists turn areas of LA into lawless hellscapes over this weekend. Anarchists set fire to vehicles, threw scooters and debris at cops, and they waved foreign flags, which we know makes my blood boil instantly. Despite the rising chaos, Newsom, whose office likened the riots to the Philadelphia Eagles playoff victory celebration, and Mayor Karen Bass, who also refuses to support federal law enforcement, haven't taken action. Meanwhile, Democrats and liberal media have again called this outbreak of violence mostly peaceful protests, even though police cars set on fire, more than 150 arrests, unrest, and more. Now, at the risk of again sending liberals to their fainting couches, which I'm sure they have probably a lot of use on, it may indeed be time to send in the troops. He says, look, let's look at some facts. Biden permitted and even encouraged a slow motion invasion of America. It allowed murderers, rapists, and other violent illegals to enter our country. In November, America said we're reversing that. The latest enforcement in LA is rounding up illegals with lengthy rap sheets. According to the DOJ, people who got arrested and picked up were charged with murder, willful cruelty to children, battery, assault, and these are just crimes that we know about. Not to mention the 300,000 missing children, okay, that have been a part of this entire operation. These are specific crimes that are in our radar. What the Democrats are defending the institution, which is also responsible for hundreds of thousands of kids being trafficked. Even their little lover boy, Kilmar, in El Salvador, was trafficking kids in his floorboards. Democrats put such violent illegal aliens ahead of the police, ahead of everybody, ahead of themselves, and legal immigrants whose communities are being terrorized. Now, they say we're terrorizing the illegal gangbangers. It's not the illegals who are terrorizing the children who they're trafficking across our border. And the Democratic Party is willfully complicit in that. Is anyone surprised? Democrats also stood idly by or even celebrated as the BLM riots destroyed our cities. The solution is what I said then, an overwhelming show of force to end the riots, says Tom Cotton, saying if the Guard can't use order, then we can use active duty troops under the Insurrection Act of 1807. And Trump has taken a measured approach thus far, and we could ramp this up if you want to play. Keep waving those flags around. Let's see what happens. Thus far, Trump has taken a measured approach. Let's hope that the National Guard, federal law enforcement, and local police can restore order before Trump needs to invoke the Insurrection Act. Man, if we invoke it, we better invoke it hard. I'm not really interested in, and I'd rather we just kind of have a nice peaceful deportation. I think that we could probably just deal with some of the incentives, just tax the remittances back to Mexico, just, fix E-Verify, double down on all the employers, just get rid of all the anchors, get rid of all the public benefits, they'll leave. But if they don't leave and they want to stick around and continue to wave their foreign flags in our country and torch our buildings and wreck our states and streets and our cities and have their elected leaders in Mexico talk about reclaiming and reconquering in the Reconquista huge portions of the southern part of our country, that's a problem. And we've got to do something about that. So we'll see where this goes. Now, these ideas, says Tom, are basic common sense. Yeah, we have a lot of people in Washington who will go to war for other people's borders constantly, do whatever it takes for other foreign borders. But our own border is being actively usurped and willfully discussed by a foreign power as they wave flags on our streets. And we have a lot of people focused elsewhere, focused on other foreign conflicts. So we appreciate Tom Cotton at least cares about this one, our border. Here's what he said.
I also want to ask you about the enforcement to date. As you know, there has been outcry. We've seen protests across the country because of the enforcement policies. You wrote an op-ed supporting President Trump's decision to send in federalized National Guard troops and active duty Marines to California. You referred to that as the threat from the radical left, an overwhelming show of force to end the riots, and talked about communities being terrorized. Given the amount of tension in the country right now, is that really the language to use?
Margaret?
Yes, when you see left-wing street militias who are throwing bricks and frozen water bottles at police officers and shooting them with fireworks, and unfortunately you have mayors and governors in some places that won't allow police to maintain order, the next step is to call in the National Guard. And if the governor won't call in the National Guard, then the president has to federalize them. We always hope that the local police are allowed to do their job and have sufficient numbers to do their job to maintain order and protect innocent life and property. But if they can't or they're not allowed to, the National Guard has to be on scene to restore civil order.
Makes sense.
LAPD says they were handling when things turned violent yesterday. They fired rubber bullets, but they said they had it under control.
The LA police chief said last weekend that his forces were overwhelmed and they couldn't manage the situation.
Her argument of firing rubber bullets, but they have it under control. So like they just shot a bunch of people with the rubber bullets and then they all fled and stopped the violence, and so it's all figured out. So as long as LAPD are shooting people with rubber bullets, we don't need Trump's National Guard in there because everything's totally under control according to I don't really care, Margaret. Now here was this weird person. I think they gave him, I don't think that's actually a bat. I don't really know what it is, like a little pole or something. Almost looks like a paper mache thing. But here's what they were doing over the weekend because they're so just strange. They had piñatas and they couldn't even break open the piñatas. You take a couple swings, little guy. Here you go. Go ahead. Go ahead. Take your anger out. Go ahead. Oh no. Oh no! Just keep swinging, morons. You look like pathetic, actually. So in addition to that, they also rallied around a podium, and now they're talking about impeaching Trump. Here's what they said.
You've described what Trump is doing in Los Angeles as lawlessness and unconstitutional and a violation of human rights. Do these things rise to the level of impeachment? Are these impeachable offenses?
Well, I believe it is.
Okay.
I definitely believe it is.
Are you going to file something? All right, so we've got that. Now, Gavin Newsom was flipping out over Trump's post. He said, "Whoa, Trump's plan is clear," said Gavin. "Incite violence and chaos in blue states. Have an excuse to militarize our cities, demonize his opponents, keep breaking the law, and consolidate power." What? It's illegal, and we will not let it stand, is what he's saying. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? You have a sanctuary city. You're openly in violation of federal law. Openly. Stephen Miller says, "Hey, moron, you run a sanctuary state that illegally harbors foreign terrorists who traffic children and willfully perpetuates a criminal invasion of the United States. The government of California does not recognize but willfully and maliciously abrogates the supremacy of federal and constitutional law, and that is not going to stand for long because Trump issued a new directive." Here's what the president said while hanging out in Canada.
I want them to focus on the cities because the cities are where you really have what's called sanctuary cities, and that's where the people are. I look at New York, I look at Chicago. I mean, you got a really bad governor in Chicago and a bad mayor, but the governor's probably the worst in the country, Pritzker. But I look at how that city has been overrun by criminals. And, New York and L.A., look at L.A. L.A., those people weren't from L.A., they weren't from California, most of those people, many of those people. And yeah, that's the focus. Biden allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Of that, vast numbers of those people were murderers, killers, people from gangs, people from jails. They emptied their jails out into the U.S. Most of those people are in the cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. Not going to happen.
Not gonna happen. Thank you for that, Mr. President. So we'll keep our eye on this. I'm sure there will be some lawsuit that says we need an injunction for this Truth Social post. Time will bring that to us, no doubt about it. Thanks for subscribing and joining as our coverage of this battle continues.